a hospital, quote unquote medical care that specializing in providing like medical care and treatment to disabled. So you think that of all places, like a place that specializes in disability care, places how they specializes in disability care would have a disability coordinator. But they didn't. They're like, oh, what? I'm like, yeah, you guys are actually federally mandated to have that. So, but they didn't. They're like, oh, what? I'm like, yeah, you guys are actually federally mandated to have that. So, yeah. But they so we're waiting on you guys to you guys are hop over to Breathe Free Academy. Sub that. So, but I know Blind Justice Center, like, we're trying to 516. We're at so we're waiting on you guys. You guys are hop over to Breathe Free Academy. Recap. And we're Blind Justice Center, like, we're trying to stay up for you guys. 16. We're at so we're waiting on you guys. You guys hop over to Breathe Free Academy. Recap. Videos made outside the courthouse from Friday. We're at so we're waiting on you guys. Yeah, check over to Breathe Free Academy. Recap. A few videos made outside the courthouse from Friday. Try to keep it under 5 minutes, but I'm waiting to start until we get Breathe Free Academy YouTube channel 600 subs. Again, that's Aaron is the guy that runs that. He's also an Army vet. He's an old friend who loves freedom. He has some pretty good interviews with people. He talks about different kind of agorism and some philosophy of freedom, and then in more kind of practical ways too, not just philosophy. He talks about practical ways of living free and how to be self-sustaining, not relying on any kind of system, whether it be governmental or anything, right? Because you can make a strong argument that we really don't have anything. If you are not fully self-sustaining, then you are relying on government for something, right? Because the economy is heavily dependent on the government, and unless you are doing stuff without their knowledge, which more power to you if you want to actually do something free exchange of goods and labor and ideas with people without a third party coming in and robbing you of a percentage of that transaction, which you guys are may refer to as taxes. But he talks about that. He shows different ways to be self-sustaining. I think he has some videos up about HVAC stuff when he did his HVAC schooling. So there's all kinds of different content on his channel. Again, it's Breathe Free Academy. We got a good friend of mine, Aaron, who went in with me to the courthouse, into the belly of the beast. They actually assaulted him. They actually put hands on him. Assault and battery. So technically battery. When he was trying to go in as my aide, as my assistant, like a couple deputies physically stopped him at the door and like pulled him back. Yeah. Pretty crazy.
It's like super quiet, super chill. We're at 5:43.
You didn't miss anything before you came. We're waiting right now to get Breathe Free Academy up to 600 subs, and then I'll give you guys a recap. So I haven't really recapped anything. We're just kind of shooting the breeze out here in this wonderful fall weather. I love it.
It's so much better than yesterday, but it's cold.
I love it.
I was not prepared.
The storm came in and rained some, and now it's the Audatron. Yeah, hit me up later, man. Thanks, Time Hunter. I just forgot what I was talking about.
You're gonna miss anything, right? Unlock an update.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I got you, fam.
Yeah. We're just kind of shooting the breeze. We're waiting for the sub count to go to 600 at Breathe Free Academy YouTube, and then I'll give you guys a short recap of the kangaroo court from Friday, and we'll try to leave this video up. She may cut out this whole first section of sub pushing the subs. And then that way you guys will just have, hopefully a 5-minute or less recap video that will stay up. We did take down, somebody asked, I think Manny Pants or somebody else, we did take down, we just said it, yeah, last night's, because it was just long, and so I'll give you guys a shorter, abbreviated recap if I can.
Working on it.
Tyrant Hunter said he just uploaded a video.
Nice.
So they're from Sweden, and the U.S. is taking the same road as Sweden. What did you say?
561.
561 is the sub count over at Breathe Free Academy.
Come on, guys.
Almost there.
39 more.
39 more subs.
266 of us in here. Switch over to your different account.
Yeah.
I know you have one.
Like less than 40 subs to go on Breathe Free Academy to get them 600. That's our goal for today. Or at least for, oh yeah. It's definitely some sexist statements from the, inside the courtroom by the,
Oh, man.
by the,
Judge and
yeah, the guy in the robes and everything.
What is that?
Somebody said 564. Breathe Free Academy, guys. Come on. Don Shaw, thanks, Don.
72.
72?
Yep.
All right, almost there. 28 to go. Court City Transparency. 75.
Oh.
We're doing it. We're getting there.
No, subjection a long time ago, says Rob.
Hey, nice, Rob. 528. All right, we're almost there. Let's get into 600. It's a good little stepping stone, and then I'll give you guys a recap here. Okay, bye, Person Piano. Thank you. 587. Practicing piano. It's you can call it whatever you want. You can call it a gimmick. You can call it. I don't care what you call it. Like, I'm trying to help out a friend who helped me. So that's what it is. Like, a friend came, drove a couple hours, and then stayed with me for like 4 hours. In the courthouse. Yeah. Yeah. With them putting hands on him when he tried to get in, and then them threatening me with arrest twice. So that's a good friend,
Oh snap! $5.99.
$5.99. Ah.
Did you get it? I said 600. I gotta go see. Woo! Oh snap! 604.
All right. Good job, people. All right.
That was awesome. That didn't
Here we go.
take very long at all.
No, it didn't take long. Good job. All right. So here's the recap. I'm gonna try to keep it under 5 minutes. Ready? I'm just gonna put a 5-minute timer and just end wherever I end.
No, you have to give them the whole recap.
It's gonna be abbreviated. All right. So made it in. The courtroom with Aaron from Breathe Free Academy. We had some hiccups at security, them like trying to take all my stuff that the judge said I was allowed to have. And then prosecution called 3 witnesses. It was Keith Benfield, who's the primary attacker from the stop on the 21st. He's the guy that was threatening to smash the window out some 20 to 25 times. So that guy was called. Then the prosecution played a video. He claimed it was our video, like from inside the van. We couldn't verify that. We don't know where he got it, what his source was. We couldn't verify whether or not he edited it. It sounded like he did because it stopped halfway through. So I don't know if it was edited or if he just stopped. He didn't play the entire video. There's objection to that. It was overruled, of course. Basically, anything that the defense objected to or made a motion to, the judge sided with prosecution, right? So there's cross-examination on that. The defense played a portion of the dash cam video showing the initial, stop, and then the body cam from Benfield's perspective, and then questioned Benfield And then prosecution called Kyle Ray as the tipster, the guy that supposedly flagged down Benfield and let him know, hey, there's a van, suspicious van that's been sitting there 5 minutes. And what else? The third witness that was called was Clayton Doss, is another guy that works at the Madison Police Department. He said that he was on scene, and yeah, so that was it. There's a little bit of cross-examination. All 3 witnesses, that's the only witnesses that were called. It's the only 3 witnesses that gave testimony from the stand. The prosecution seemed to give testimony from his spot, and so did the judge. And all 3 witnesses confirmed that they saw no specific objective facts the crime was committed. All they saw was a van visible from the road, parked behind a church and church parking lot. Those are the facts, right? Those are the facts that they testified to. The ones that are specific and important to the case. They didn't say anything other than that, as far as them seeing any elements of a crime, right? The videos again didn't show elements of a crime, and nobody stopped the videos and said, okay, is this, this is where he did this, which was the crime, or this is where he did this, this element of the crime. None of those facts were pointed to, and none of those came out. So then at the end of state's evidence, defense made a motion to dismiss based on a lack of, the prosecution didn't do his job. He didn't prove that there was facts warranting a guilty verdict. None of the elements were there. There was no finding of fact pointing to a guilty verdict, right? And then he made a legal argument. Yeah, he introduced Brown v. Texas, which is a great case. He introduced, and that one has to do with the officers have to have RAS for it to be a valid stop. And if you don't have a valid stop, then the stuff after that is, invalid. So then you have consensual encounters. That one was Sinclair. It's a court case for North Carolina that talks about what's a consensual encounter, and if there's no RAS, then it's a consensual encounter. Prosecution agreed in his rebuttal to that, and his counter argument, that it was a consensual encounter between me and the officers, and that I could have walked away any time, but instead I decided to communicate to my wife because I was concerned for her safety and didn't want her rights to be crushed or her to be attacked, and want to make sure that she moved in a safe manner and communicated her movements. And so that was his, he rebutted that me talking to my wife is me intervening and resisting. He testified that basically the prosecution gave testimony saying that I refused ID many times. He also said that I told my wife many times to not give ID, and those facts did not come out in the videos. They didn't support that, and the testimony didn't support that. So again, this is the prosecution alleging things that didn't come out in evidence. And then the judge echoed that, denied the motion to dismiss. Then closing arguments were basically for defense about a repeat. For prosecution, he introduced Cortez, like U.S. v. Cortez, which is a really strong case for RAS, that you have to have RAS because that's what they found in that case, that they didn't. So the appellate court overturned the stop the bus from Cortez and said this wasn't valid because he didn't have RAS. So I don't know why he just gave us another case in support of us. But he didn't even mention it. He said, here's a case, it's Cortez. He just said the name, but he didn't mention any of the facts or anything of it. The second case he didn't name, and that one was Helen. So I got that one from my attorney, and that's I think it's a North Carolina case. And that one, the only thing he referenced out of that and his legal argument was that it's okay for officers to make mistakes. So his closing argument, prosecution's closing argument, was basically, here's some case law. One of them actually supports the defense. He didn't argue that, but he didn't even say anything about it. What he said was, it's okay for officers to make mistakes. The defendant said many times, to his wife not to give ID, which again, that fact didn't come out. There was no evidence that showed that fact. Nobody had any testimony that was verified by anything. It was only basically the prosecution testifying to that, and there was no fact brought into evidence by the witnesses or the videos showing or supporting that claim by the prosecution. And then he said that I had a lack of basic respect for law enforcement, and that was it. That was his argument was that he said we need to find him guilty because he has a basic There is a lack of basic respect for law enforcement. That was his claim. And then it's okay for police to make mistakes. So that seems like he's admitting that the cops made a mistake, and it's okay to punish people because of cops' mistakes. Because then he asked for punishment. He asked for finding, a guilty and sentencing. And Chris Freeman was the quote judge in the case, and he basically echoed whatever the prosecutor said, and said that it would have been over easier without all the heartache but he said all through this that I turned a speck into a mountain. So again, that phrase "speck into a mountain" didn't come out in any of the facts. Nobody alluded to anything like that. So he's giving giving testimony from the bench, and seems like he's alluding to everything after the arrest. All the different things that he's got a letter of impeachment, a petition to impeach him sitting before the General Assembly right now, and all the other criminal activities of his colleagues there in the Rockingham County Courthouse, the DA's office, the Sheriff's Department, the police department here, the town staff, and their colleagues, their cohorts that yet to be identified. Some of them have been identified. Little tip for you guys. So that's it. He rendered a verdict of guilty. Again, I would argue that he didn't find me guilty because there was no finding of fact. He did not refer to any facts that were found in the case that would lead to a guilty verdict. He didn't point to any legal argument that would lead to a guilty verdict. Instead, he just rendered a guilty verdict in spite of having no facts supporting that and no legal argument supporting that. He just nope, you're guilty. And then he sentenced me to 12 months supervised probation, 10 days of community service, and said that I had to write an apology letter to all the officers involved. So, bada bing, bada boom. That's it in a nutshell. There's other things that we could talk about, but that's it. I think I kept under 5 minutes. Yeah. Whew.
I don't know if my internet freaked out, but
all right. So there you go. I'm gonna try to figure out how to end this thing. They've changed YouTube on me. I found it. Bye, everybody. Peace and love. Dale Presley Bear. Thanks for subbing to Breathe Free Academy.